Okay, so this is what you're gonna need. You're gonna need a pair of pointe shoes. You're gonna need some elastics. And then you're gonna need ribbon, a stitch kit, a lighter, and a pair of scissors. Okay, so the first step is we're gonna sew the elastic on the back of the heel. So fold the shoe over and then take your piece of elastic and place it in the back of the heel right near the seam, like this. And then get your needle that has thread on it, and then you're gonna put it through the elastic and then through the first layer of fabric on the pointe shoe and pull it through. And they're gonna be little tails at the end, just set them off to the side. Okay, and then you're gonna repeat that same thing again until you get to the top of the top of this side of the elastic. This. So next we're gonna sew the top. So stick the needle through the elastic, then through the layer of pointe shoe, then back to the elastic like that, and then pull through. And then you're gonna repeat this until you get all the way across. Next, you're going to sew down the other side of the elastic, so just repeat the same steps that we did on the first side. And now you're going to continue sewing along the bottom. Now that you've reached back to the starting place, do another stitch like you normally would and pull the needle through, but don't pull it all the way tight. Leave a little loop because we're going to be tying a knot. So you're going to leave your loop, get it down to a little tiny size, and then you're going to pull the needle through once, like this, and then it's going to be through, and then you're going to go through it one more time, and then that's going to be your knot. And I usually like to tie 2 knots because then you know that it's really secure. Now you're going to repeat the same thing with the second piece of elastic on the other side of the seam. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to sew the ribbons, and what I did before this was I burned the edges of the ribbons that wouldn't fray, and then fold it twice over so that it is sturdier because the ribbons are thin. And where we're going to place the ribbons is, so there's a seam in the middle of the pointe shoe, and you're going to place it on the inside of that seam, so closer to the back of the shoe where we sewed the elastics. So right here, and then we use the same process that we used to sew the elastics on and sew in a box formation and then tie a knot. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. So for this next part, you're going to need a pencil. What you're going to do is you're going to put your pointe shoe on. You don't need any toe pads or anything. This is just to see how tight the elastics are going to be. And then take one of your elastics and stretch it all the way across and go on the other side of the seam that we sewed by where we sewed the ribbon, and then mark how tight you want your elastic. Don't make it too tight or too loose, and you can check it to see if it's good, because it's really important to make sure you have your elastics be how tight you want them. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other elastic, making a mark with the pencil. So now we are going to cut the elastic so they aren't so long. So you're going to cut it maybe about 3/4 of an inch above the line that we drew, just like this, and you can use really any scissors. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stretch one of the elastics across and line it up with the mark we made, and then we are going to sew in a box formation just as we have done with all of the other elastics. So now we're going to repeat the same process with the other elastic. So now we're done with the actual sewing part, but the next step is to put your shoe on because we are going to trim and burn the ribbons. So once you straighten out the elastics, go ahead and tie your ribbons. Okay, so now that you've tied them, pull the ribbon out like this and then cut maybe about 2 inches away from where you tied the knot. And then that's how long your ribbons are going to be, and so then that makes it easier to tuck them. So since we have our shoe on, let's go ahead and pull the drawstrings nice and tight. Now this only applies if you have drawstrings on your shoe. So now go ahead and tie 2 to 3 knots so that we know the drawstring won't go anywhere. And once you've tied your knots, go ahead and take your scissors and trim the drawstring about 1 inch away from the knot. So now that I have trimmed the ribbons, I'm going to label my shoe because I tied the ribbons in so we different on each shoe. That's my right shoe. And now I'm going to take my lighter and I'm going to hold the flame away from the ribbon and then just burn the edges so it doesn't fray. And now I'm going to do that for the other ribbon too. And then the next part is to do the same thing but with the tips of the drawstring. Now you know how to tie your pointe shoes. Click here to see our How to Tie Your Pointe Shoes video. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Thanks for watching!